It looks like that's it, but he just gave us the names.
Yeah. We are now live on.
All right, everything's live. There you go. There you go. I call this meeting to order. Welcome everyone. Today is Monday, March 16th, 2020. This is a regularly scheduled trustee meeting. I would like to ask Mr. Cowan, please call roll for this evening.
Trustee Rivers?
Here.
Trustee Tranta?
Here.
Trustee Rivers?
Here. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. First, in tonight's agenda, do we have any agenda changes?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
On the parks report, I'd like to move the discussion, or item A, the discussion about the revision of the swimming pool contract. Both those items.
We move A and B under 8.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have any other items? We do not. Do we have any public comments or items on tonight's agenda? We do not. So with that, that takes us to our scheduled 6 o'clock p.m. Hearing on the proposed Joint Economic Development District. We have tonight here with us Mr. John Albers and Mr. Tony Ireman. Mr. Albers, if you could.
Yes, good evening. Okay, once again, thank you for the opportunity to assist you with this matter. Tonight is a final hearing on the proposed establishment of the Evans Farm Joint Economic Development District. You should each have a copy of the proposed resolution that would be adopted this evening. First, let the record reflect that a public notice of this final hearing to establish the JED was published in the Delaware Gazette on September 5th, 2019. And for at least 30 days after that, on file at the Township offices was a copy of the Economic Development Plan, maps for the area included in the JED, and the JED contract itself. The hearing was originally scheduled for October 7th. It was called to order at that meeting and recessed to December 2nd. The December 2nd meeting was also recessed to February 3rd, and the February 3rd meeting was recessed to March 16th, tonight's date. I do have to mention that within the past several days, the Joint Economic Development District has been revised, as you may know, and a few properties have been added. You should each have a map of the properties. G, H, and I have been added since the last draft of the contract that was before the board. Let the record also reflect that we have received signed petitions from the property owner for all parcels, so those are on file. Originals will be provided. We have scanned copies of those signed petitions, and that's all we're required to have by law at this point, so that's fine. As such, the statutory prerequisites have been fulfilled to proceed tonight with the final hearing and potential approval of the JED agreement. I would ask the board to first call and see if there are any questions. I know previously on your agenda you had an opportunity for questions, but I don't know if my comments have created any other questions, and so you may want to open it up to the general public, see if there are any other questions that you or the board has, or the audience has about the JED topic.
I have a couple of questions.
Yes,
Being a new board
sure.
member and just addressing resident concerns. There was a question that came from a resident about a home business that would reside in the Evans Farm area. And of course, I tried to reference the map, and we'll have this to reference and provide. We'll provide this to the public now that it's finalized. But just want to get clarity on residential-based businesses, things of that nature. Should they pop up in the district? It doesn't look like that's even feasible right now. Is that correct?
I believe there are no residential structures within the JED area, yes.
Okay, I didn't, like I said, so I right away asked you for Exhibit A just to make sure I had a copy of the most recent map. But okay, so that's an easy question. The other question in the contract, it referenced the finance authority at 20%. I believe it was 20% that they're going to receive. There were two things that it referenced with regard to paying the finance authority, and I believe it's on
Yes, 22%, page 21.
page 21. So one of them was they'll be reimbursed with JED revenue until their expense is paid. And the next bullet has a breakdown of the revenue allocation. Is that correct? With regard to roughly 32% Orange Township, 20% to Finance Authority, etc.
That's from the net revenue. The way it's broken down in section 4.2 is disbursements that come from the gross revenue and are paid first and foremost, and then from net revenues, if there are any. The split of net revenue is under section 4.2.2. And from the net revenue, the distribution is 10% to the village, 32.5% to the board improvement account, 5% to Concord Township, 32.5% to Orange Township, and 20% to the Delaware County Finance Authority.
Okay. And from gross to net, expenses would be costs that were incurred to set up the JED, that kind of thing.
Correct.
Okay.
And I don't know if you want me to go through those, but there are 3 or 4 items that come out of the gross before you get to the net that is then distributed.
How long of a discussion is that? It's a pretty, I mean,
Yeah, it's pretty quick.
Okay. I'd like to do it just so that people watching understand.
Sure.
It's a new thing for us, so I think they'd appreciate the insight.
Okay. Section 4211, there is a distribution to the JED board for long-term maintenance of the JED board, administrative expenses that it might have, and that's 5% of the gross. The next distribution is 3% to the village to pay RETA for levy and collection of the income tax. The next sum is to reimburse costs to establish the district that the various entities have had.
And how do we know what those are?
You won't know till we're finished.
Okay.
Yeah.
Including the Delaware County Finance Authority, will we know what their expenses are?
Ultimately, when the entire JED is completed, you'll get a complete accounting.
Do you have any idea what they're actually spending their money on?
I do not. No, I don't know.
I know a portion of it's obviously legal expenses, right?
Right. That's
Well, I
probably
believe
the
the commissioners-
majority of the
Well,
expense.
The commissioners had agreed to pay, I believe up to a certain amount on that. So that wouldn't really be the finance authority unless are they combining those two things together, Ryan, since
How do you mean by the commissioner?
they had approved a set dollar amount to pay the attorney fees for putting this together.
Like
Wasn't it?
100,000 or something,
I think it
50,000.
was, yeah, less than.
No, I think you're confusing that with the 23 study. That
Hmm.
was,
No, because remember when, what's his name?
Bob?
Yeah. Bob was getting worked up about, Mike McCarthy, Mr. Albers, coming out of that fund that was approved by the commissioners to pay for the legal fees. He had to stay within that budget.
well, I believe there was that money put up front as far as the legal expenses that before the JED was approved, they had that money set aside.
They would want
So-
to be reimbursed
So
or.
they want to be reimbursed. I can't, Rob, do you recall if that was something that came from the county?
Yeah, the county commissioners were down part of the finance authority. Initially, it was agreed, by an MOU that we would do that as front of costs. Then the information for the funds.
I recall that, I think I recall being forwarded the MOU and seeing along those lines that they would front the money essentially in good faith, assuming that they would
And that money was fronted by the finance authority, correct? Yeah, so I think, I get what you're saying, but
Yes.
it was.
So then but my clarity was upon them, whatever that sum total becomes, and we put that into the statement of expenses.
Right.
Once that is fully repaid, and I'm assuming in sequence, everyone gets their money until that 4.2.1.4 is fulfilled,
Correct.
then that drops off.
Correct.
And then from there, it's net revenue allocated accordingly.
Correct.
If there's anything left.
Correct.
Okay.
Trustee Grumbles, I would like to clarify a question you had earlier. There is residential that's permitted in those districts.
Okay.
So, townhomes are part of the Point Commercial and Office District. I'd be curious on that question too, then.
Okay.
Well, if residential is developed as part within the JED district, that's permissible. Mixed-use developments are permitted in JED districts. Otherwise, it has to be entirely commercial.
Okay. So this would be a proponent of the mixed use district. Now, it still brings back the question of if those residents in the mixed use district, if they, since this is zoned, I would assume they would have every right to
They can have a home occupation.
operate out of their homes.
Sure.
Would we expect them to be paying an income tax accordingly?
Yes. Yes, on any business activity that occurs within the JED.
But there is no single family in the district.
There's no single family.
Will the new baseball complex be part of the JED?
No, that's not located in the JED.
Tony, are you able to tell me what H, G, and I is without a color photo? What area that is?
It's just south of
I'm not sure how it was drawn incorrectly, but those areas there are part of the Plain Commercial District.
So it always was supposed to be included?
Yeah.
Just got missed? Okay. Thanks, Michelle.
The northern piece, which is H, is actually the lake, which was zoned as commercial. So as part of the agreement back in 2015-16 with the township, was all the commercial along here would be part of the JED. So that's what
Okay.
we want.
Thank you.
So so we didn't include the Jennings complex.
No. The Jennings part was part of the single family residential.
Okay, so that's where the rezoning effort and everything.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So regarding residents and residential activity from an income tax standpoint, do we have the ability to write those folks out? Just to say if there's a small business or a transaction type business or someone's, so teleworking, when you telework for an entity like I do at times, I have to file different tax documents based on where the work is happening. So technically, if I've had a condominium in this district, when I would remove tax from, say, Whitehall, where I typically work, I would have to then pay into this JED via RETA. Is there a way to delineate those residents or no?
I'm afraid not, no. It's the Fort Shawnee tax code is what applies. And what it'll apply to is the net profits of any business and wages paid to employees of businesses. So if you don't qualify, if somehow, there are no net profits or there are no wages paid to employees at the situs of the business, then there'll be no income tax that will have to be paid.
Anyone working from home would be paying tax, bottom line. Okay. Michelle, do you have in front of you, can you tell me from a mixed use standpoint what kind of volume we're looking at in that area? Is it from an address standpoint, is there 1,000 residents there? Or?
I don't have that in front of me yet.
Sorry to ask all this
No, it's
detail,
okay.
but I think it's important.
Good question.
I can pull it up.
I honestly try not to remember numbers like that.
Yeah, I bet.
Because I usually get them wrong.
No, it's okay.
I can tell you there are 69 townhomes on the south side of Red Oak, right across the street from the single family that would be part of this. There's 52 apartments and A's in buildings 1 and 2, but there's additional multi-family units in there.
No one's living there today, obviously, right?
No.
Okay, so I'm okay with it as long as we're clear about it when people come to take a look at the property. As long as we're marketing that responsibly and informing them that if they're working from home, I mean, I think that would be sufficient, right?
Yes, that's important. But also I'd like to say for structures that are strictly residential, that it wouldn't apply.
Okay.
It's only for mixed use structures.
Okay.
Okay?
So, but the condominiums that we're talking about are going to be part of a mixed use structure.
Within the same building as where retail, for example,
Commerce.
may be located, yes, then they would potentially be subject.
Okay. All right. Is that?
John, I have a question on that. So there are townhomes that are specifically attached units, but they're each individual residence. That would not be included.
It would end up not being subject to that.
Attached, meaning what?
The
Attached, we have row houses.
Oh, detached.
Detached.
Okay, I thought you said attached.
Well, that's what I thought I heard him say, is if they're attached townhomes.
if they're separate units. They're not part of a complex which includes businesses or retail. Yeah.
Because my understanding is you're looking for like a residential condominium above a loft style thing above a business, right?
In buildings 1 and 2, we have exactly that.
Okay.
Across the street from the single family, we have row houses.
Yeah, those won't apply, obviously, but the other ones will. My only request is that we're very transparent with residents moving in that, hey, if you telework or if you're working from home in any capacity earning a wage, you will be, expected to pay the appropriate tax to our JED district, which is fine. I mean, part of this is that we're keeping tax revenue in our community. And so, I think that most places that are working, if they're not paying it here, they're paying it where their place of business is. And our goal is to keep our our money here in Orange Township. So it's part of the transition to becoming more familiar with JEDs, and this is number one. So I think that's just being transparent and clear with the folks watching and that have questions. So thank you for that. Apologize
Sure.
for taking
Sure.
so much time there.
That's fine.
Mr. Albers, could you give a little bit of your background and your experience with JEDs, kind of your role?
Yeah. I do joint economic development district work all over the state of Ohio, do a lot of other economic development tool work for local governments. Primarily represent townships on joint economic development districts, but I do a lot of TIF work and new community authorities for local governments all over the state of Ohio. So a large part of what I do. I also do a lot of work in the utility sector, assisting communities with water and sewer projects. Been at it 38 years. That's about it.
And I did reference quite a bit of your online material. I appreciate you making that public and sharing it. It's valuable for those that might want to read more about JEDs. I found it to be
Sure.
very helpful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
And I was fortunate enough to attend your class at the OTA Winter Conference, which I found
Thank you.
really helpful.
Good.
When you normally do a JED like this, how many entities do you usually see involved?
It really runs the gamut. Doing a series of JEDs out in Etna Township in Licking County right now, and there are as many as maybe 10 entities. And then there are those that there are only 2, the village and the township, or the city and the township. So it runs anywhere from 2 to as many as 10. A lot of county commissioners derive revenue from joint economic development districts. Some fire districts derive revenue. Transportation improvement districts are sometimes recipients, etc. So community improvement corporations are sometimes recipients. So there's only 2 parties, or in this case, 3 parties to a JED,
Right.
but others can receive funds that are generated as a result of the revenue derived.
Okay.
I would
Thank you.
I think too, Trustee Taranto, with us, part of it is too with the contiguous entities that we're tapping into to partner on this. To get to them, it may require us to include more than 2, unless we were to partner with Delaware and Columbus to get to a municipality with an income tax rate that we can impose. So I think that's important to keep in mind. We'll probably be stuck at 3, if we do this.
Well,
right.
yes, absolutely. But then we had the finance authority, and was that it, or was there another one?
Concord, it'd be
Well, Concord's that's,
Village.
those 2 are a given. They
Right,
have to be.
correct.
And I'm looking at this as our first JED, and I'm learning and what's beneficial, what's not, and we're talking about either no money or just so very little money that Orange Township would get because it's so low anyway. That I'm just looking at it as a learning curve for the next one that hopefully actually brings perhaps more value,
Yeah.
more revenue
But from a
to our
percentage-
residents.
From a percentage standpoint, though, is the norm typically for a township of our percentage going back to Orange? Of the percentage that's going back to Orange in this?
Yes,
from a
that
standpoint
runs
of-
the gamut also. I've seen townships get as little as 5%, and I've seen townships get as much as 75%. So a lot of it depends on how much leverage you have, what you're bringing to the table, who's providing water and sewer and other amenities. So they really, are a matter of negotiation amongst the parties. You can expand JEDs, no problem with that. It's a fairly simple procedure to add property to a JED. A lot of townships end up forming separate JEDs. One of the reasons being the makeup of the board. You've now got a makeup of your board. You'd have to change that if you're going to add territory, maybe you don't allow that territory to have a person appointed to the JED board. But if you want to do that, you might want to end up forming a separate additional JED. That's what some of my clients do. Others just try to add to the one they established originally. Also, the income tax rates sometimes vary. You may bring in an area that's more, going to generate more tax revenue in the future, and you may not want it subject to the same income tax rate that's in this document. So again, I'm doing a lot of work for Etna Township in Licking County, and they've done 4 JEDs. They did 2 JEDs. Now they did 4 JEDs, and I think they're going to probably be doing a couple more for those kinds of reasons.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but your income tax rate, can that change once you're locked in? I thought it could, right?
It can, yes. In this document, you've got a cap on it of 2%.
Okay.
After 10 years, it can increase beyond the 1% currently levied. So a lot of JEDs equal the highest rate that you can levy within the municipal partner that they're partnering with.
And I don't know if you're familiar with Liberty Township down in Butler County,
Mm-hmm.
but I spoke with some of their board members about the JED they have.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things they brought to my attention that I found interesting was in order to broker the deal, they had a cap of 2 or 2.5 or something of that nature. But the history and the rub, if you will, to get through was closer to 1% or the sweet spot.
Mm-hmm.
So they intentionally went to that mark, whereas others I found and read about were locked in much higher. To your point, Aetna and some of the others.
Yeah.
So I found that to be interesting, just a dynamic type of thing that you find yourself in.
Some of them have a step up. Start at 1, go to 1.5, eventually go to 2%. They step it up automatically, every 3 years or 5 years or whatever. So you can do that as well.
2 more questions for me,
Sure.
and then I'm completely done. Promise. One of them is with a JED. I think what's most important with it being new, when we go to expand this thing, and we are talking to both established businesses and landowners, how do we tell them this is the right move for a township, and how do we incentivize them to say, hey, I'm not paying anything, and now you want 1%? I know a lot of the discussion has been around it's a net neutral for them. They're going to give us 1% and write it right back off.
Well, one of the primary things you're bringing to the table is, as in this agreement, they're going to benefit. The BIA account is the board improvement account that the JED district board controls. So they'll be able to use that for any costs related to the betterment of the JED area. Signage, road widening, paving, landscape. Etna Township has done elaborate street lamps and things like that. So you're bringing to the table revenue that the developer doesn't otherwise really have available to be utilized to benefit the JED district. That's one of the main things and the cost of services, government services have to be provided somehow. When you're creating essentially municipal type development, you need municipal type revenue to support, and townships don't have that. So this is their way, under Ohio law, of generating adequate revenue to provide the services that are needed.
The legal changes that hurt our type of government, that of recent, I think we gotta have these types of tools in place with them taking funds away from us, and I'm all for JEDs. I think they're the right thing for our township, especially. But with that, I think it's important to point out 32.5 points go to both Orange Township and that board. I'm not saying BIA because they'll get mixed up. But I can only imagine based on tonight. So 32% will be the board improvement account. So between that and the other, we're at 65 points now for Orange Township.
Right.
Locked in.
Right.
Okay. That's a much better number than 32 points. The other question I had for you.
Sure.
And I hear Trustee Taranto's points about the finance authority's take of 20%. When you look at these, my understanding coming in after the ball was rolling here, but it kind of stopped, and now here we are trying to get this thing through. With the finance authority, they kind of brokered this, or what's the background there? Are you familiar with that yourself?
Not really.
Okay.
And that's more in the bailiwick of the.
It's really Delaware County Economic Development is who brokered it.
But they're funded by the finance authority, I believe.
Maybe Rob can speak a little bit to that.
Yeah, that'd be great. I just want to make sure we're fully transparent here on this.
Good evening, Rob Platt, Delaware County Economic Development. So the question is the Finance Authority's role or,
Correct.
or how it came to be?
Correct.
So back in March, April, May, somewhere early last year, we knew that and again, you all know I work for the county commissioners, staff were assigned to be liaisons to the Finance Authority. The Finance Authority and the Township entered into an MOU, whereas the Finance Authority would head up the creation of this on behalf of the Township. We would seek out the municipal partner, in which we did help negotiate the terms, front all the costs, so there was zero out of pocket to the Township and the residents, recognizing there would be a payback mechanism once it came all the way to fruition. And so that's kind of where it started, was with that MOU, where we kind of spelled out, hey, we know there's an interest in doing this. We have experience, we have the ability, and we're able to front the funds to do so. And so that was the offer, and that was the agreement entered into. And that's been the practice all the way through. The Finance Authority has paid all the costs for not only the legal representation here, but also for the other parties, publication costs and things like that. So,
Any idea what that sum total is close?
so in the original MOU, I haven't read it in a while. I believe that number was expected to be about $35,000. If you look at JEDs around the state, they by and large are $50,000, easy to get them started. I think we will be at that amount because we reached 35 probably towards the end of last year when we were kind of trying to wrap up the first draft of it and stuff. I would anticipate we'll be somewhere between the 40 to 50,000 range.
Okay.
So.
And this, if approved, would be the first township-driven JED in Delaware County. So I think, to your point, Trustee Trana, working with our partners is the first step in this going forward. If we do more, how that works, but you gotta.
Because we
Start
absolutely can afford to front our own
Sure.
fees and pay ourselves back. Absolutely.
So
But again, it's the learning experience for me, and I'll know how to do it maybe better or differently moving forward.
Sure. There are a couple JEDs, as you're all aware, in Berkshire Township, more so driven by the developer when it came in, but absolutely right. This is the first one in an effort led by the township. Sure.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Yeah. So we signed an MOU in 18, 17, something?
the MOU, I believe, was signed in
19. Okay, so last year we signed an MOU. They did what they said they'd do. Now here we are. All right. No more questions.
Trustee Trana. All right. I make the motion to approve Resolution 20-162A, the resolution providing for the acceptance of Evans Farm Joint Economic Development District contract.
Second.
Trustee Rivers,
Yes.
Trustee Reynolds,
Yes.
Trustee Trana,
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great.
Alright.
Thank you, Mr. Albers.
Yes, Mr. Roberts, thank you.
Happy to be of assistance.
Appreciate it.
thank you.
Thank you. All right, that will officially close the hearing, and we will return to regular session. Next on the agenda is our approval of the minutes for March 2nd, 2020. Have any questions? I make the motion to approve Resolution 20-126, approving the electronic record of the proceedings from the March 2nd, 2020 meeting.
Second.
Trustee Rivers,
Yes.
Trustee Trana,
Yes.
Trustee Reynolds.
Yes.
Next is our zoning report.
Yes.
Mrs. Bonnie.
I'll be brief. This Thursday, March 19th at 6 p.m., the Board of Zoning Appeals issued your two applications, a variance application regarding construction of a garage in the Estates of Plano, and the second application is an area variance for an entry sign over at the Clear Creek Community Single Coffee Following that, on Tuesday, March 24th at 7 p.m., it'll be the third hearing on the Nova lands on at 660-5661 Thomas Pike, where the old hot tub store used to be, to do a new commercial district there. As of recent news, the zoning commission has postponed our zoning diagnostics review to a further date due to the current conditions in today's world. Next is Thursday, April 9th at 6 p.m. We still are intending to do some form of an open house for the 23 or overlay district, but that'll be further discussed. And lastly, on Tuesday, May 19th at 7 p.m., zoning commission will be hearing turkey wheel signage, or hopefully the last time.
And I think we'll probably touch on our meeting plans here later in the agenda.
And Michelle, I would say with the open house type events for both you and Bill, really, we may want to explore virtual options, just calling around or assessing what our potential options are from an interactive standpoint, so that people can post questions and.
I agree.
Okay.
I missed it.
Can I
Thank you.
move this back?
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, and we'll go back before we move further in the agenda. Looks like we approved the March 2nd minutes. And then there was also the March 4th. I missed that.
Nope.
So I make the motion to approve resolution 20-127 in the matter of approving the electronic record of the proceedings from a special board meeting held on March 4th, 2020.
Second.
Trustee Rivers,
Yes.
trustee Reynolds,
Yes.
trustee Franco.
Yes.
And that takes us to our next item on tonight's agenda, maintenance report, Mr. Coward.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Looking at the template, the first item is the Dunrobin Roselle Road easement acquisition agreements. In your packet, you have a copy of the engineered drawings from Delaware County Engineers and two letters that I sent to the property owners asking for cooperation, and they haven't had any. So we'd like to get Dunrobin involved in acquiring that right away. We need to extend this culvert on the road. Just a small piece of property. And the next item in maintenance, I've got a couple of purchase orders. Asking your approval to authorize purchase order. Well, that's Dunrobin, I'm sorry for that. MK Hardesty LLC, the amount of $2,750. And the purpose of that is to repair an ADA ramp and reset a manhole lid. And it's near the intersection of Bell Canyon and East Orange Road. The next item I have is resolution 20-130. Also, I request your consideration of a purchase order to MK Hardesty again. This is for some curb and gutter repair work they performed at the intersection of Walkerwood and Laurel Wind Road. And the amount of that purchase order is $3,268. The reason for that work, the solid thing just destroyed the curb and gutter going into the subdivision, so we had to replace it. So it was done. Next purchase order I have is resolution 20-131. It's a now and then purchase order to George J. Eigel. It's in the amount of $5,200. That's our portion of work that was completed at Green Meadows Roundabout project. It's a county project. Well, the Township project, the county's participating in as well. That's our portion of this pay request. That's all I have for maintenance report. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to try to answer them.
Any questions? I make the motion to approve resolution 20-128, authorizing the issuance of purchase order to Dunrobin Associates.
Second.
Trustee Rivers,
Yes.
Trustee Taranto,
Yes.
Trustee Reynolds.
Yes.
Make the motion to approve resolution 20-129, authorizing the issuance of a purchase order to MK Hardesty LLC.
Second. Trustee Rivers,
Yes.
Trustee Grumbles,
Yes.
Trustee Taranto,
Yes.
I make the motion to approve resolution 20-130, authorizing the issuance of a then and now purchase order to MK Hardesty LLC.
Second.
Trustee Rivers,
Yes.
Trustee Grumbles,
Yes.
Trustee Taranto,
Yes.
And I make the motion to approve resolution 20-131, authorizing the issuance of a then and now purchase order to George J. Eigel.
second. Trustee Rivers,
Yes.
Trustee Grumbles,
Yes.
Trustee Taranto.
Yes.
All right, and that takes us to park report.
Park reports, I asked that resolution 20-132 and resolution 20-133 be set aside. Flip the pages here.
And just for transparency, Bill, you got a good bid.
Yes, we
Okay.
received 3 bids. 2 were good bids. We're prepared to make a recommendation to the board this evening. Received a last minute call from Attorney Betts asking to wait. He wanted to take another look at the insurance that was provided in the low bids. So
Okay.
that's where we're
I
at.
think we'll have a little time, so
Yeah.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, we don't have a lot of time. There's a lot to do. I was stressed when I saw that you were holding off on
One
that.
thing at a time.
Yeah.
Resolution 20-134, in our park restroom facilities, we swapped out the toilet paper roll, single holder for a large roll holder that's much more economical.
We might have to put locks on those.
Yeah, we should.
Yeah.
And we are asking that the old roll holders be obsolete items. They really aren't any good for any purpose anymore. The next resolution I have, Resolution 20-135. The last meeting, there was a resolution number 20-114. It was to authorize the issuance of the purchase order to MK Hardesty. That was in error. It should have been authorized the issuance of the purchase order to Patterson Pools LLC. I'm asking that you consider making that amendment from Hardesty to Patterson Pools. Next resolution I have is 20-136, approving lake doctor agreements for the 4 lakes that we have that we maintain: North Lake or ponds, North Orange Park, Glen Oak, Township Hall, and Leavenworth Park. Right up, we'll go on to also got resolution 2137 on page 10. That was my folder. Maybe an error. Let's move on to resolution 2138. Resolution to authorize the issuance of a purchase order to M&D Blacktop Company. I actually have 2 of these resolutions. 20-139 just below. One is the amount of $7,995 for sealing, crack sealing and striping Glen Oak driveway. The next is the amount of $32,505. This involves quite a bit of pavement repair, crack sealing and striping the Roe Park driveway and parking area. That's all I have. I just wanted to take a quick look at that doctors. Sorry for the
No, take your time.
I'm thinking that was the one that was approved last week for the fire department.
That's the one when I was asking about combining the next year, looking at the combined business to see. Yeah, I recall that too.
So maybe we can, remove that resolution from consideration under 20-138.
So the Lake Doctors 20137, is that the one we're moving, or 138?
That's the one we'll be using. Oh. We want to use for Lake Doctors Resolution 20136 and remove. Well, I guess that's just the purchase order. First one's to authorize agreements.
Yeah, I got it right here. It's for parks.
I'm sorry.
No,
So they're
I remember
okay.
talking about them too with the fire department, so it's
They're
okay.
okay like they are. I'm sorry.
Okay. So we're good?
Any more confusion, I'll be happy to provide.
No.
I think we're good. I make the motion to approve Resolution 20-134, finding certain personal property not needed for public use, obsolete or unfit for the use for which it was acquired, to have no value, and ordering it to be discarded or salvaged.
Second.
Trustee Rivers?
Yes.
Trustee Grumbles?
Yes.
Trustee Tranto?
Yes.
I make the motion to approve Resolution 20-135, amending Resolution 20-114, authorizing the issuance of a purchase order to Patterson Tools LLC.
Second?
Trustee Rivers?
Yes.
Trustee Tranto?
Yes.
Trustee Grumbles?
Yes.
Okay, so we got, just making sure I'm not missing this. So 136 is part of the, what we're changing, right?
No, 136 is okay. It's just authorizes the agreement, and then 137 authorizes the purchase.
Okay.
I was confused.
They're all good.
Okay, all right, just to make sure. I make the motion to approve Resolution 20-136 in the matter of approving an agreement with the Lake Doctors Incorporated.
Second?
Trustee Rivers?
Yes.
Trustee Tranto?
Yes.
Trustee Grumbles?
Yes.
I make the motion to approve Resolution 20-137, authorizing the issuance of purchase order to the Lake Doctors Incorporated.
Second?
Trustee Rivers?
Yes.
Trustee Tranto?
Yes.
Trustee Grumbles?
Yes.
I make the motion to approve Resolution 20-138, authorizing the issuance of a purchase order to M&D Blacktop Company.
Second?
Trustee Rivers?
Yes.
Trustee Tranto?
Yes.
Trustee Grumbles?
Yes.
I make the motion to approve Resolution 20-139, authorizing the issuance of a purchase order to M&D Blacktop Company.
Second?
Trustee Rivers?
Yes.
Trustee Tranto?
Yes.
Trustee Grumbles?
Yes.
I'm glad to see that get done, Bill. That road park really, the parking lot really needed that.
Thank you. Just as a side note, we're still under contract to finish the parking lot here, and that'll get done in the weather. Thank you.
Thank you. Public Safety Report. Jeff.
Evening, Mr. Chair and Board. Up for your consideration tonight. First, Resolution 20-140 to acknowledge and accept donation from the Home Depot for 5 tree-hung doors that will be used for training purposes.
You just want to go through each of them and then we'll.
Second, Resolution 20141, acknowledge and accept donations. Dollar amount of $10 from Thompson Building Associates. Also, Resolution 20142, acknowledge and accept donations. Accept donation of 6 gift card donations from Michelle and Gary Mann. And Also, a then and now purchase order, resolution 20143, authorizing the issuance of then and now purchase order for Phoenix Fire equipment in the amount of $12,575.00 for turnout gear.
Were those, do you know where the 6 gift cards were from?
They were from Michelle and Gary Mann. I believe they were accompanied with a letter accommodating our crews for going above and beyond with their elderly parents, I believe, in one of the communities just behind one of the firehouses. One, a call in particular that required extra care and precision to assist more than one patient. They were very grateful.
Great, thank you.
And I did talk to Chief Miller about that too, and he mentioned that typically they're just, what they do is they distribute the funds throughout the department on different things, so I thought that was great.
Yes, although one particular person and crew was namely specified, however, they didn't indicate they would like to distribute.
The other thing I spoke to Chief Noble about was setting up and establishing a formal response to things like this, especially to Home Depot and different organizations and residents who donate frequently to us. I know he told me they'll send a thank you kind of note, but I think as a board and a collective township, it would be something that would be in good order for us to take on. Home Depot's very thoughtful with our community. They help multiple nonprofits, including the one I'm a part of, and it would just be a nice gesture to extend a formal thank you from us. So something for the board's consideration. If we got a consensus, and I think it would be something we could work with the department or whoever's impacted by donations and get a formal thank you card signed by the board. If you are in agreement, just I think a general consensus will work. We agree. Good. You want to make a note of that, Captain?
No questions.
I make the motion to approve resolution 20-140 to acknowledge and accept a donation of 5 pre-hung doors from Home Depot.
Second?
Trustee Rivers,
Yes.
trustee Tranto,
Yes.
trustee Grumbus,
Yes.
Make the motion to approve resolution 20-141 to acknowledge and accept a donation of $10 from Thompson Building Associates.
Second.
trustee Rivers.
Yes.
Trustee Grumbus.
Yes.
Trustee Tranto,
Yes.
Make the motion to approve resolution 20-142 to acknowledge and accept a donation of 6 gift card donations from Michelle and Gary Mann.
Second.
trustee Rivers,
Yes.
trustee Grumbus,
Yes.
trustee Tranto,
Yes.
I make the motion to approve resolution 20-143 to authorize the issuance of a then and now purchase order to Phoenix Fire equipment.
Second?
trustee Rivers,
Yes.
trustee Tranto,
Yes.
trustee Grumbus.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. That takes us to our fiscal office report. Due to the current conditions we are facing, our fiscal officer, Mr. Mayor, is not with us tonight. We do have just to approve a resolution for the appropriation, just a matter of a typo that needs to be corrected. We do have in the packet, along with a couple purchase orders. Do you have any questions? Actually, more than a couple. But I believe I think we're in pretty good shape, obviously, with getting things signed and getting checks out. Not knowing how things are going to go going forward, I think we're good here to carry us through the month as far as urgency and bills and what needs paid.
I agree. I I think the only one I'd like to hold off on is cemetery fees. Could we wait till, to look at that in April? It's the very last thing, page 21. Or do you think it matters if we approved it and then changed it if we decide to? I know it's something that we need to have reviewed.
I agree with that. I saw that too and thought the same.
So-
I'm just curious from the last time it was.
And that's one of the projects that's gonna happen here soon. Do you care,
So,
just hold off on it?
That's fine, we'll table that.
If we have any issues that surface in the interim, if we have to have a special meeting or something, I think that'll be simple.
I think we just stick to our current rates, right?
For now.
Okay.
Do you know when the blanket purchase orders were received to the people? This is my first time seeing it, and I know it's out last week, so I just haven't had a chance to cross check my numbers on it. I know we've had some errors. Same here, this is the first person. I just wanna make sure, if I know this is final.
Well, they are, is there any concerns as far as the blankets and,
I don't have my stuff here to look at it, I'm sure Michelle will be the same way, there was quite a few errors on the last, when the appropriations, and we knew that's one of the items on the agenda is to correct the last. You know, anybody else's CVs or, we'll just see in the packet.
I saw he sent the permanent appropriations out in the email.
I think I got them in blanket, when you wanted to the individual blanket orders.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the appropriations.
No, I'm talking about page 18, when he listed out all the blanket certificates, this is the first time.
Okay, understood.
And I don't know if he's previously amended, if needed, but.
What, when do we have to have that finalized?
it's,
I wish I was able to see this earlier, but, you know, I guess if the blanket needs to be amended, I think we've done that before, and that's.
yeah, I mean, I think as far as just for filing purposes, it needs to be filed, but we can make amendments or changes. Being that everything is, with an overestimate as far as what's available in funds, we shouldn't run into any issue where there's any major rooms. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, that's fine, I just, you know, I want to make sure it's possible to amend if needed.
Trustee Tarano had to step out for a few minutes, so I'll just wait till she gets
Yeah, that's fine.
back.
Do it during that time.
Do we want to move ahead in some of the agenda? I think we've got, our discussions regarding our possible action plan. Like I said, with the current challenges and the coronavirus, is that something we want to kind of start with?
I think if we're gonna do anything, we could get the reimbursement of sick leave hours to the fireman done, or firefighter rather. And I don't foresee her having a problem with us approving that. Yes.
I just wanted to take a second. Lisa Kraft, 2181 Barnett Court. I just wanted to publicly thank Wes Mayer for meeting with me for the last week or so. He's been a great asset. He's been professional. He's really shared a lot of good information to help my transition into the role effective April 1st much easier. So I'd like to just publicly thank him for his time and his commitment to the township.
Thank you. Thank you. This was supposed to be Mr. Mayor's last meeting. Like I said, obviously with the conditions, he was not here tonight. I think he made the right choice. He has some current health things that he's has coming up, so we do have a gift to present him to thank him for his time served. And I think hopefully if things work out, we can present that to him in April or when things at a later time when things change and we'll be hopefully back to normal. But thank you. I was just holding off because I wasn't going to vote on anything until Trustee Trainer came back.
That's fine. Okay. We're done, so it's okay. We're just waiting on you to adjourn the meeting, Trustee Taranto.
Yeah.
Muscle through the rest.
So there were some questions as far as the blankets. I know this needs to be filed, so I think we're okay to approve tonight. If we need to amend or change anything.
And we can do that, right? Amend or change?
And we'll all work on this type thing as a note go forward. You know, becoming fiscal officer president, that this stuff is noted, and we'll work towards. So thank you for your patience, department heads, with this, and we'll look to hear your feedback so we can change anything as needed.
I make the motion to approve resolution 20-144, approving a revised exhibit A to resolution 20-116, which is the township permanent appropriation measure pursuant to RC 5705.38A.
Second.
Trustee Rivers,
Yes.
trustee Grumbles,
Yes.
trustee Taranto,
Yes.
I make the motion to approve resolution 20-145, authorizing the issuance of a purchase order to American Electric Power.
Second?
trustee Rivers,
Yes.
trustee Grumbles,
Yes.
trustee Taranto,
Yes.
I make the motion to approve resolution 20-146, authorizing the issuance of a purchase order to Meritas Insurance Corporation.
Second?
trustee Rivers,
Yes.
trustee Taranto,
Yes.
trustee Grumbles,
Yes.
I make the motion to approve resolution 20-147, authorizing the issuance of a purchase order to Columbia Gas.
Second.
trustee Rivers,
Yes.
trustee Grumbles,
Yes.
trustee Taranto,
Yes.
I make the motion to approve resolution 20-148, authorizing the issuance of a purchase order to Pitney Bowes.
Second.
trustee Rivers,
Yes.
trustee Grumbles,
Yes.
trustee Taranto,
Yes.
I make the motion to approve resolution 20-149, authorizing the issuance of a purchase order to the Standard.
Second.
trustee Rivers,
Yes.
trustee Grumbles,
Yes.
trustee Taranto,
Yes. Amanda, is that what it's called? The standard?
That's for,
Insurance.
Okay.
well, some life insurance.
I make the motion to approve resolution 20-150, authorizing the issuance of a purchase order to Suburban Natural Gas.
Second?
trustee Rivers,
Yes.
trustee Taranto,
Yes.
trustee Grumbles,
Yes.
I make the motion to approve resolution 20-151, authorizing the issuance of a purchase order to Vision Benefits of America.
Second.
trustee Rivers,
Yes.
trustee Grumbles,
Yes.
trustee Taranto,
Yes.
I make the motion to approve resolution 20-152, authorizing the issuance of a purchase order to the Bureau of Workers' Compensation.
Second?
trustee Rivers,
Yes.
trustee Taranto,
Yes.
trustee Grumbles,
Yes.
I make the motion to approve resolution 20-153, authorizing the issuance of a purchase order to Treasurer of the State.
Second.
trustee Rivers,
Yes.
trustee Grumbles,
Yes.
trustee Taranto,
Yes.
I make the motion to approve resolution 20-154, approving the approval of all blanket certificates.
Second?
trustee Rivers,
Yes.
trustee Taranto,
Yes.
trustee Grumbles,
Yes.
Last one on the table. Which takes us to 11A, which is just the reimbursement of sick leave hours. Is that correct?
So you have in front of you the reimbursement for a lifetime of receiving free and as part of their contract, essentially established the
for this company to go through the firefighter and everything is correct, so we just need to get that established after that.
Make the motion to approve resolution 20-156, authorizing the reimbursement of sick leave hours to firefighter paramedic Nicholas Kraus.
Second. Second.
Trustee Rivers,
Yes.
trustee Grumbles,
Yes.
trustee Tranto,
Yes.
Chair, I missed, resolution 20-15 fire right above.
Oh, no, that was, I'm sorry, this, so we're gonna hold off on.
We're gonna hold off on the
cemetery.
cemeteries. Yep, no, it's okay. Um, Trustee Rivers, that brings us to old business. I would request that we table the triad resolution. We've already paid this once prior. There's some sort of mix-up. I did get confirmation from the fiscal office that it's been paid on January 17th. And the sum total of the account is in the attachment before you in the backups. If you look at that amount, you can see that there's nothing remaining there. So I think this was just from a current build. There's the 5,000 remaining. I think that there's some sort of mix-up here.
Yeah, I think you added an error.
Yeah, I did reach out to Triad, and they're gonna. I've tried a few times. I'm still waiting a call back on this, but I'm fairly certain it's a mistake. I looked into this when we were talking about Township Hall renovation because we already had funds set aside with Triad. They're also working in concert with Corda. So I figured with as you see on your paperwork here, the total set aside of 47.5, we've used of that 32.5, and so we have the 15,000 remaining. And the discussion prior to mention was that, if we have that set aside, let's go ahead and exhaust that with Corda via Triad to look. I did validate also that they already have a full schematic of the building and the documentation. I had to go dig through the email to find it, but it is there. So I think it would be a pretty lean approach to getting what we're looking for.
Good. Did we ever get that opinion from Chris Betts regarding the renovations?
So we got the opinion from. I'm glad you brought that up. Thank you.
I don't think I've seen it.
No, we reached out to Chris Betts, but we also reached out to Isaac Wiles, and they did send a response. We forwarded that out before the prior administrator forwarded that out, and the approach on that was, and this is important because our community they've received some bad information that we're looking to build a township hall and Evans Farm, etc. There's been some speculation and stuff.
No, it was actually said at a trustee.
I know it was said. I saw the video.
Oh.
But what I'm saying is you can't do any of that until the vote, the elected. The
Which I didn't know,
Right.
and I'm sure Ryan didn't know.
There's a RC, and I sent it to I believe to the board, or I know I emailed it at least once, but the revised code is pretty clear. You can't remodel, you can't build, construct, do any sort of township hall in excess of $50,000 without a vote of approval from the constituents. So we can't move to Evans Farm unless they vote and approve it. And we also can't do anything here unless they vote and approve it. So the discussion that was posed, or the question posed to Isaac Wiles, and I believe Assistant Prosecutor Betts, was, are we stuck?
Because technically this is also an administrative building.
Correct. So if we look at what Mr. Zeth said, his response was, it's a play on words. If we go back and we revise all of our documentation and we approach it as an office renovation, then we would be able to do it, but everything would be called township office. If we don't, we can't. And that's, when you look at the amount of the PO, it's not surprising it's under 50. I think that this was a known, at some level going in, obviously, to stay under the 50 mark. I personally.
But the actual renovations are going to be over 50.
Correct. Yeah. I don't think you can spend over 50 without a vote. And I'm not personally comfortable with the play on words until we get some clarity from the prosecutor's office.
So we are still waiting to hear.
It's a board decision. I mean, this was something that happened before my time. I was just picking up pieces that I could find in documents, et cetera.
Oh, I thought we had all agreed to have it sent to Prosecutor Betts for his opinion. That's what I was asking.
No, we'd have to get their opinion in addition to one we already have.
Yeah, I think we should.
Okay, I would agree. I'm personally not comfortable going back and revising documents and taking a play on words approach to something to work around the law. Now, if we're going to invest good money on something like this, then I think we should vocalize that to the community and ask for their support. That's just my personal opinion. And you know, if our prosecutor's office chimes in and says, you know, they agree or disagree, then I'll take their legal advice to heart. But the way that it was posed to Mr. Zepps and the way it came back was, well, you can get around it if you do this. And that's not really the kind of business I think any of us are in. So I want to make sure that we clear this up and have a better response if we're going to move forward. But in the interim, we have some money set aside that we can spend on looking at plans that we talked about. I think we ought to spend it because that's the goal that we have. And they have done the heavy lifting, so that it shouldn't be an excessive amount.
And before any of that bubbled to the surface, I think it was back in our original discussions when this was brought forward, as far as does it make sense to invest a lot of money in Township Hall? What other options? We want to look at possibly building something new. So I believe that was back in, I want to say it was spring, summer of 18. So I think there was some miscommunication, like that was a recent conversation.
Yeah, it was presented as happening when at the meeting I wasn't here. It was kind of implied that that's when it happened, what I saw.
No, this was last year that was brought forward, building a new township hall, correct?
That was 2018.
Was it that long ago?
Yeah.
That's why I'm
That
saying
time-
the fact that he's public.
Yes.
I want to make sure the public knows that we can't do that anyway, so that it puts to bed some of the drama and rumors or, you know, concerns that they have. And then that we're going to work to do the right thing by what we're working towards here.
Mhm.
I'm okay with us, you know, taking measures that we talked about. For one, the safety of the associate base and the front office. I think that's critical.
But that would be less than 50,000.
It's going to be less than 50,000. The concern that I have is where we're at now and how this plays into that total package, if you will. So if we're already expended and we get advice that we can't, I think for 15,000 we can secure the front. We're better off using what's left in that.
But I also have no issue if it's found. I already know that we need more space. But I have no issue taking it to the ballot
I don't
if
either.
we need to.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
if
think
you
you
got to
should.
do it,
We don't have a choice.
we're a busy operation. They deserve the space. My directors deserve doors. You know, I mean, they just. I hope it works out. That they see what I see, but I'm not the architect, so we'll see.
But for tonight's, the
This is real
bill
good.
has been paid.
I just wanted to tell the story
Yeah.
about what's going on and connect the dots here.
Well, that brought me up to speed though, because I was curious. So
I
thank you.
appreciate that. Yeah. And so I think Bill, with that in mind, we need to get back with Corda/Triad and move forward with taking a look at what they've done, internalizing the without adding to the garage, looking at the structure itself and saying how can we optimize the space, and get a rough estimate of what that would cost for them to sharpen their pencil on optimizing the space we already had. And we talked, if you remember, Mr. Ray and the team, we were all talking about that, and there's some things we could do. And then also getting a ballpark on simply securing the front from Corda. They have the plans for that, so we would just simply look at them, cost estimate, construction estimate, so we can get that appropriated.
Okay. But for the purchase order sitting here in front of us tonight, we don't need it. That's been paid. We're good.
I believe it has. Yep, we need to table that.
Okay.
Why are you going there yet? Just to table that.
I want to table it until we confirm that it's not separate. And then once they confirm it, then we can remove it or keep it or resurface it next meeting.
takes us to our next item, the appointment of Township Representative for the Delaware County Land Bank. I believe there were some different names for consideration. And I see here in the resolution we have the Liberty Township Administrator Michael Schuling. So I think it sounds like there was an agreement for Mr. Schuling to be the next appointed representative.
That was, I had a discussion with the trustee in Liberty Township about that with emails. There were several emails that went back and forth. And I think several people threw their name in the hat for that, mine included. And then I had a kind of a contact there that said, hey, we had the Liberty Township board member said there was a prior agreement in place. This would be an administrator type function that we would rotate between the townships involved. It was never intended to have a trustee or a board member. Really, we wanted to give them a chance to represent us in their capacity. So it's a pretty time-consuming type thing. And since we've gone, it's kind of their turn now, if you will. And this administrator did express interest. And I know the other party was a board member. They've withdrawn their request too, so it's pretty straightforward with what we need to do.
I'm okay with that. I just want to make a note. I was just notified that the judge did turn down not having elections tomorrow, so there will be. So I have a feeling that they're going to show up to set up the room soon.
So we need to get moving.
Well, we might need to move over for our exec.
Okay.
That's fine.
Maybe even our discussion on COVID, I'm not sure.
I make the motion to approve Resolution 20-158, authorizing the appointment of Liberty Township Administrator Michael Schuling to the Delaware County Land Bank.
Second. Go ahead. Ben.
Second.
That's 2 seconds. Okay. Thank you. Trustee Rivers?
Yes.
Trustee Drumbles?
Yes.
Trustee Transa?
Yes.
Thank you.
That takes us, next item is our discussion regarding our plan of action here going forward in obviously dealing with challenges of coronavirus.
So last week there was some email about potential special meeting, et cetera, and in absence of that and to accommodate, everything going on, avoid additional special meetings, I'll say Chief Noble and the team at the fire department did a tremendous job putting this together. I met with them on Friday and it was largely done. We talked through just some additional concerns as news was coming in. And the only work really left to do was from a maintenance and parks and kind of how we want to really run Township Hall with all things considered standpoint. So give credit where it's due. I mean, it really was an outstanding bit of work here that they put together. So at a high level, it goes through the different the background and information with the virus itself. Looks at communications. We have been, our communications manager has been sharing content from the proper channels, the Department of Health, CDC, and et cetera, actively putting that up on Facebook. On our township page, I know that there's other communications that have gone out too. Talks about preventative measures, what the guidelines are currently, washing hands, touching, exposure, et cetera. Washing hands obviously being the suggested way to go forward. And then covers with employees experiencing symptoms on page 3, with ill family members. Confidentiality obviously with general HIPAA, and then with this names our HR point person to contact there, sick leave, et cetera, and it goes through. So I know this was sent out I believe Friday, and there's been an update recently. I don't know if the board's had time to review it in full, but I thought it was pretty thorough and well thought through.
Mm-hmm.
Amanda, from an HR standpoint, I'm not sure if you have additional concerns that you want to share.
Yeah, there's a couple things in here. As far as working from home, you want to determine. Right now, it just says case-by-case basis, not everybody even has access to work from home. You have to have a township issued laptop with a take home key and into the system, so you have access to VPN, not everybody has that. All of these positions are not gonna be able to go home or stay home and work. What can leave the office? How are you accounting for time? There have been quite a few other emergency operations plans that cities, municipalities, reservation parks, Liberty, Genoa, have put together and address the setback, use essential personnel, things like that that we would need to. Right now, it's kind of vague, a little bit limited, and then, you know, if you're having somebody answer phones and greet people at the door, that's their primary role. They're not allowed to take home that they're able to do, so I think we're gonna have to figure out what that staffing looks like, or do you have new staffing or rotation of staffing? And then if you are having employees that do have to report to work, what does that look like? Where are they reporting? Here. Things like that. So those are some considerations that the board will have to take into account, whether it's done tonight or before you have a meeting to try to flesh those answers out. What that looks like moving forward, that's something that once you start down that road, you kind of lead yourself to past practice, so you want to make sure you try to get down the right path as soon as possible. We've got two bargaining agreements, so we want to make sure we stay in the, you know, violating the bargaining agreement rights, but also we have part-time employees and we have full-time employees that are not under the bargaining agreement, but we just need to make sure that we're treating everybody consistently and not violating any fairness standards act.
Thank you. Just to clarify, though, we don't have bargaining employees that work in this building, correct? Township hall.
They do work over here, like, they might be assigned a job to do, but they're not housed up.
Okay. So regarding that,
So we're talking administration right now.
correct. So from an administration standpoint, I did send out a note to suggest that we move a few folks this morning, or over the weekend, I believe, to make sure that we respect the distance between work. I think that probably went okay today, I'm guessing. We have this room, you know, obviously not tomorrow, but other rooms in the township where we can certainly spread out and still accommodate for folks with a laptop. I also have a quote from IT regarding laptop purchases. Laptops, about $800 a piece. That's to be functional. There's also another alternative for associates that have Wi-Fi for around $500. It would just require they take home the keyboard, mouse, and monitor they currently have in place. If they want to, laptops seem like a better all-inclusive kind of option for $300 in difference. The one thing of note here that is worth considering with the timing, one thing I have spoken with IT about is a lot of our computer systems are outdated. This came up with the discussions we've had in the past, I'm not going to go into. But oh, by the way, we have several in the township that probably need an upgrade. So we could probably kill a few birds with one stone here if we really wanted to. Also, last week, I sent a note and asked that the department heads and their staff all put a ticket in to request link and ability to telework in the event they do, or we do enable that, they're ready. I know as of today, not everyone's done that quite yet. Some people did it today, but we'll just for them to be able to set that up is in pretty short order. So
Have we actually figured out who could work from home?
that's what we're here to do today. I think that that we did as much as we could without a meeting, and I think
You did.
some of the things. So I think for me personally, I think we have to be mindful too, as far as the folks most at risk here, and we need to take that to heart in as much as we legally can. And I would, before we make decisions, obviously that goes to the prosecutor's office. But I think that we're okay talking to Prosecutor Betts today with the meetings, etc. We are okay to restrict access to Township Hall. All of those things we can do, and I would suggest that we do. We started that process today where people can't get in and out. I know it's an inconvenience to have to badge into the door for our internal folks, but I would say that's probably the safest way, is to prevent them from even coming into the building to begin with, so that the first line of resistance is the very front door. And if you're an internal associate, it's not that hard to pull your wallet out or your purse, et cetera, somewhere that can read RFID chip, let you in the door, and then you come in. For everyone else, there's a note, and we can greet them in the little cross, kind of contain that space, right? So that gives a buffer. So the package comes in, you can spray it in there, you can do whatever you need to do. That's a nice containment area. And then allow our staff to stay inside. Keep the administrative folks for now separated. Nancy and Marianne. Marianne's got a second desk you can work at. And we move the GIS person Chris into zoning office. So for now, I think that should suffice. From a director level standpoint, I would personally question them and say, can you complete your job remotely? Is it something you have to be here for? And allow them to chime in. They know the results and performance, and so I would look for them to make that call.
If I may, one of the folks up front asked me to speak on her behalf this evening. She's very concerned. She takes medication that compromises her immune system. And she said she would really, really like to work on her. I'm just passing that word along.
Me personally, I've shadowed and spoken with and talked to our administrative folks that work in the front of office. If they can get access to the system, I personally don't have any concern with them working remotely. Outside of printouts and such stuff of that nature, I see more of it being electronic nowadays anyway, phone calls, etc. I think that we can work to redirect those calls if we need to, so that they're answering them remotely. I don't think we can afford to take any chances here, and nor should we expect.
So we would have nobody in the front.
We would have. I mean, that's one of two. If we have one, we're closing.
Oh, I thought you just stated both of them. You didn't think both of them.
If one of them isn't, if there's different circumstances, then I think that's the case. That's the point where she was touching on, where we have to be consistent and we have issues there. So that's where we're going to have to get the prosecutor involved as far as their recommendations. If someone has a compromised immune system, then they can validate that type of thing. You're in a high risk category already. I just don't think that it's something that we could be expected to deal with too tremendous amount of backlash over. This is going to take all of us to kind of come together and overcome through. I'm not opposed to sitting up front for periods of time myself to help and close the gap while we have one. It's going to be a long one. And I know in the past, staff has stepped up to help too. I mean, this isn't one where it's, we can stay siloed and expect to overcome this. So the other thing is, if they can accommodate that, and there's a note on the front, no one's coming in the building unless they absolutely have to anyway. I'm not worried about there being somebody to wave and greet. They have a phone number to call. It's to be expected.
I would like to chime in on that part. They put a lock on the front door, so unless somebody's up there, we aren't physically able to get in, so somebody still has to use that application.
That lock is the one that they latch. Right?
Yeah, but it's from the inside, so even the key card doesn't do good getting into this building.
I saw that today.
So there still needs to be some way for somebody that would be close,
Right.
to at least let the appropriate individuals in. And then, as far as what work goes home, that's gonna have to be, the board decides what can you take home. Again, not how are you validating those hours, is it a half day? If your job is already to answer phones and answer people, customers and clientele, the public that walks in, you're not able to do that at home.
Well, he talked like you could actually forward the phone call.
Yeah, we can forward the phone call. We do that all the time. My work calls, I work remotely all the time. I'm 24/7 pretty much with defense suppliers. I can get a phone call. I got one today before the meeting.
You can get them through email, but they don't have township issued cell phones. So then you're looking at if they're calling them back on their personal phone. So those are some considerations you would have to make as well.
I mean, it can be forwarded to literally any number too. If we need to pay a phone bill, this is all stuff we'll have to have 2 days in the office. If we need to get phones, we can get them in a couple of days. I'm fine with that too. It's $100 a phone a month. I think is what the amount came out to, and they're here in a couple of days. It's really not that big of a deal considering all things that we're going to be facing. I don't think that especially for someone who's documented that they had potential immune system and things like that. But just, I simply thinking of their own stuff.
And with where we're at, I don't think this is something that's gonna pass in a week or two. It just doesn't.
Well, the
look
president said today they were looking at July, August.
Right. So
I know, right?
this
And I
is,
think when Chief and I talked about this over the weekend, it's obviously a live document, it evolves and changes, so what could be passed today or approved, things could still come up this week.
We're gonna have to have special meetings. on
And
this.
I'll be honest,
Have
as
had versions.
our HR manager, you really should, all of this again, is happening so fast and getting the chief in before he went on vacation was part of it. And, but you being involved in how this is gonna look really should happen as being our HR manager. She should just be involved in those kind of details. She has some good points.
And
But
I do
as
have-
far as a starting document, I think this is great.
I do have quite a few, just City of Delaware, Cows, Liberty, things that are preservation parks, what they're doing, those are our community partners that we work with all the time. So they already have this meeting in place, they did that last week, and implemented stuff, Janelle's already made changes to theirs, so they have full versions of it. So you're not recreating the wheel, the city of Columbus has a great plan that was published last week, so, and it addresses the personnel and the employee side of it, that if you are gonna open it up to looking from home, you have to figure out what that looks like. Because once you start down the path and you go out for south, then you're saying that's this.
I think it's important. I mean, I work in this environment now. Again, and it's a new environment, but I'm familiar with the challenges. So, we did talk with Chief about, I think 2 weeks ago, a week or two ago, when I first started talking with him about this plan, and he did obtain plans from other communities. That was part of what went into this. So I know that we've looked at those and talked about them too. I do think that the drastic change in what's happened in the past 48 hours, I'm okay with us being at this stage because we would be starting over anyway, Frank. I mean, it's taken an extreme shift.
Right.
So, and we're going to continue to have to modify, right? It's a living document, as we said. So, from a telework standpoint, if we look at roles and responsibilities, I'm comfortable with saying that from an administrative standpoint, that we do things regarding Township Hall. I don't know if that's going to trickle into other departments. In other words, if your job is to work on a computer and answer phones, I don't think that that's consistent with cleaning the facilities or disinfecting, etc. I don't think we're going to run into, if we take into account those roles and responsibilities, I think there will be some ability for us to distinguish where it's appropriate and where it's not. From a director standpoint, the part that that I mentioned about them stepping up and kind of say, yeah, I'm comfortable doing that, or I have to be in the office. I think that again, I would look at their discretion as an initial kind of litmus, and then from there, when we go and look at these other plans and talk to the prosecutor, et cetera, get clarity, maybe something we dictate versus ask, if it gets to that point. And I think we're getting close to that.
I'd like to speak on behalf of my staff, but we had a staff meeting today, and over the weekend, I did create a transition plan for our office. We do all have laptops, we all have our phones, and we are VPN connected. So as far as us working remotely, we are definitely capable of doing that. Most of our applications are online submittals now, which we're fortunate to have, and most people start using that. Now, I do believe our staff, we still are continuing having public hearings, and even if they go in a virtual setting, somebody does have to be there. So I think those are essential days, so we will have some staff present for those meetings. But I think if this pandemic does worsen over time, I'd like to start with a remote transition, turning us from 1 or 2 days a week, so we can get adjusted to that with a different work environment.
Sure. And that's standard, by the
And
way.
then, if it gets to extreme cases, at least my staff and I will be ready if that does come. But as far as covering the front, our goal is to have at least one facility person each day here until we have to get those circumstances. So we can look around for the front. I've answered the phone up front when no one's there. I'm fine doing it. I can't speak on anybody else, but
I mean, how many calls are we talking a day?
I think the front office
gets more calls than anybody, and a lot of those are actually zoning calls, so they should address.
So that's the other thing too, is if we have people that are in the township and we can't redirect calls, I mean, I set up that email for admin, so that all the admin stuff can go to that, be forwarded to that email. We can forward the calls to anyone for an initial screen, we can rotate that, we can do all kinds of things, you know, especially from an exempt standpoint, we have the flexibility.
Maybe forward them to my phone.
For mine or
Couple days a
whoever,
week,
yep,
whatever.
exactly, rotate it around.
You know,
It's really not that, we can figure that out.
And I will say, I've got some of the staff, or some of them are concerned about has a family that has some health issues in the past too, so I didn't, just like his life, and I've had board members reach out to me saying they don't like come in.
So the meetings is a little different, and one of the things that Mr. Betts mentioned to me when we spoke today from the prosecutor's office is that directives did come down about open meetings and virtual meetings and that type of thing. So we do have some guidance there. I think what we're gonna have to do, since we didn't really have time to talk through and look at that, is to go back after this meeting, read the email and the documentation, and then call with clarifying questions and probably come back together, either virtually or in person.
To be honest, we have to be live. That was the only, we can do it by phone, which is great, but there has to be a visual.
But we have our,
I do have a meeting on Thursday, so I guess that's my.
Right.
Well, how should we move forward? The board members have reached out to me saying that they don't feel comfortable being there, but I
Sure.
need at least a forum action, so.
So we can work on the spacing and stuff like we did tonight, but in that regard, I am gonna try and work with IT again tomorrow to understand with our YouTube channel, if we can have multiple, video inputs, coming in. So in the event that you're at home on camera, I'm at home in an office, in my office or whatever, we're on camera, that it will all feed into the same, session, so that whoever's talking would be visible, similar to a WebEx or something of that nature. So I want to really test out the capability of this and see if that will enable us to have a remote meeting. Similarly, that would be one where, you know, people could dial in and interact type thing. What do we have from a hosting standpoint? I know you've used a ton of stuff that I've heard you mention. So the software is out there. It's just a matter of, you know, how we choose to do it.
well, we're one step ahead with the streaming service. So
You did mention that.
I think how this all works, we gotta figure out, but we are fortunate that we have the streaming service in place. And it does sound like we have the flexibility to be able to move here
My
pretty quick.
laptop capable, that was the question.
Okay. I mean, we can get the laptops in a couple of days. That's all right.
But I think, from what, and I have to go back and read, but I think just audio, if someone calls in for the time being is acceptable. So we're being provided a lot of flexibility because obviously we gotta keep the township running and, you know, there's a lot of challenges here.
I guess one of our biggest decisions is, are we canceling all these public meetings? April 9th. The overlay, open house,
The open house is being,
commission hearings.
the open house is
I
being,
had a meeting with over so, and, I think we're looking at transitioning that to virtual, I just don't know how that looks right now.
And I think we can schedule a formal on-site later.
Yeah,
But
I think that's.
no one's gonna, I mean, we really shouldn't encourage people to come in and do that. I mean, it's obvious they want us to stay home. So I think tonight we can decide if we migrate all of our scheduled open houses to a virtual setting and we tap into the resources we have and work to figure that out.
I have a question. Can the board members check in virtually as part of the meeting? If they don't physically want to be here? I don't know.
That's what they said that we can do. We just have to have the capability and software and that kind of thing. So again, I think we need to go back and the what ifs need to get answered here. And then we need to look at what capability we can employ in short order, right?
Sure. Should I look into this?
Yes, I would, that's why I was saying before too, is I encourage you to look into that and find resources or any sort of things that you can come up with that you think are fitting.
For something like that, we would still have to have someone here, and everybody else would have to have those same capabilities at their hospital locations as well. So at least one here, and then each one of you would have, if you have a virtual meeting through all of it. You have to have some type of equipment to get in or do the same for any of the zoning members as well.
I didn't take that in the document that we would have to have one person here.
You have to have somebody be running the equipment here to.
Oh, I see. No, I'm gonna talk to them about running this, application
Remotely?
remotely. If we have a VPN, we can get into the network, which is all that is a network cable. It's a YouTube page with a sign on and a camera that's tied into the network too. So if that's all housed in a laptop, and we can tap into the software and log in and just change from a multi-user format, maybe we can.
Yeah, because right now it's in that tower, which is housed in there, so obviously there will be some changes on getting it all.
Yeah, the microphone, everything it's just all in the laptop.
And we do plan on, we do staff plan on being here for our Thursday meeting. I'm just wondering if a board member wanted to call in the meeting, if we're streaming YouTube, we put them on speakerphone, are they part of?
Yeah, we're gonna have to clarify all of that.
Actually, yes, they are, but if they're disconnected and you don't have a quorum, then you have to stop.
But that's where we have a problem, where we need to find the software to monitor status. So like the ones we use, they'll tell you if somebody drops. So that way you have an active monitoring. There'll be
This
no
just
doubt.
sounds,
That'll track it to
It's-
show if they're active.
Yeah, that's correct. So it's like it's just on the so on your computer, you're hosting, and it would say who's there. And then as soon as if they have an issue, it's really easy to
like
do.
join my meeting.
Correct.
Yeah.
You got it.
Got it.
That way you can see everybody
Mhm.
who's there, you have an electronic record, they can probably go behind it and just print out to show who was
Okay.
there or participating.
To mute people if you have to. So the beauty of that too is if residents want to participate, they can call in and partake in the meetings and what's going on. So if people are concerned about a matter and they want to call in, you take comments at the beginning, etc. When they come up, you can have them type a name.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So that make sure that we have participation where it's desired. So.
And I think that, if we're going that route, I'm sure that the form doesn't need to be anywhere. I've had problems with Wi-Fi in this particular thing before, so maybe we want to.
Yeah, we wouldn't have to be in here. So that's another thing where it's virtual. You can do it in your living room if you want.
What, as far as what we have open rentals going forward, what do we?
No rentals. I think the idea was that we would shut down access for all the rentals and all of the people coming into the facility, that's gone until further notice. I think that some of the groups have already notified us that they're canceling.
Yeah, they're all canceling. The Sunday, Marianne needs to know to call that Sunday group though, for sure.
Right, so I know that there's already language in here about not having meetings and not allowing visitors and outside guests. If that's the case, it would be effective about tonight, so everybody, we have some coming up on the seniors meet. There's some zoning needs coming up. The Delaware General Health District meets, there's a Vail Canyon open house, the Twin Creek Overlay open house, there's a recycling event on April 18th. So I don't know, if you're not only wanting to keep it localized to this building, but we do have outside events that could be bringing people together or cross contamination. We talked about, again, maybe even just going through the month of April, seeing where we're at, if we need to extend that further on, because we do have May, June, July, further events scheduled throughout the year. I hate to cancel those or postpone those, things may be better by then. And we talked about at least for the electronics event, postponing it until later on. See what that looks like. And I think most people they're open to that just because everything is happening like that. And we'll either postpone it and find a date later on, or we'll scrap it this year and have it next year, which some are doing.
What about our parks? Is there any
So,
action?
yeah, I want to back up on that too. The internal lock that you were talking about, the manual lock, what I was suggesting is that the outside door that you have RFID access to, that's what would be the control point. So we wouldn't even engage the manual lock. We wouldn't need to. No one can even get in the front door. So the very first door that we would enter, employees already have an RFID. They can swipe in and they're in. Everyone else has to be let in, and then we'd have the door behind them where we could then, kind of screen ourselves and drop the package there. It's good. I'm not signing for it, kind of thing, whatever it takes. Just wanted to clarify that. With regard to meetings, I think the intent when I met with Chief and Captain Miller was everything that's not a board meeting or a zoning meeting, et cetera, is out. So those are immediately canceled. With regard to rentals, we would refund the groups their deposits. And then with respect to open houses, we're going to migrate to a virtual model until further notice, period. I think that's what we say. Instead of dating ourselves and having to come back, we just say any planned open house will be virtual until further notice. Now, in the event we get clearance, we then go back, notify the public, hey, we're going to do this one on site. And then once this clears for the ones meaningful that we need to have on site, especially, the bigger ticket items, that we do so. It may require us to make board decisions as far as the park and things like that on how we're going to progress, that aren't as desirable, but in the current condition, what we can do. I know you've already started on North Road with probably getting the infrastructure going where we did agree. But
We
on
could
top,
still do like a survey monkey online.
correct.
So at least we could get some feedback.
Correct, that's what I'm saying. We moved to where we're not completely eliminating feedback, because what were we talking about? Do you like the dog park? Do you like the pickleball? Do you like the, the basketball courts? So that's all stuff that I think we can navigate through, no problem. I think most of the groups understand. They've already canceled. I saw some notes coming in. No problem there. We'll figure out how we can do the virtual meetings, and then I think we migrate from here on out, public required meetings, of everything but the Board of Trustees for that to happen. For Board of Trustee meetings, my suggestion would be that the three of us continue to meet here as much as possible to live stream this, because that's what we've committed to. That's how our minutes are documented. But we asked the subordinate, or the department heads rather, to virtually participate, meaning that we would all have one line that we call into with a microphone on the phone, and they each present just like they do today. They're out of sight for the most part anyway. It would be a vocal participation, recording of minutes. We can pop up a WebEx on that and make sure that they're participating and call roll. But as a board, we can remain distant and continue to have the experience for the voters that they expect.
Real quick, Bell Canyon open house and the Parks open house. Parks was advertising in a newsletter. Here's what's there.
I mean, I think this is just one of those things.
I don't know how, well, I'm not saying it won't work. I can't visualize myself how it's gonna work.
Yeah, I
Especially
can't either, but
Bell Canyon, we're gonna have, big displays set up with drawings and different things, I think.
So with Vail Canyon and the ones that require drawing, I think we would get shareable document PDF, send that out to Amanda. We can push that out through our communication channel. And so when we reference that during the call, we simply would say, we're now discussing document A1. This is what's important to know with regard to the Vail Canyon improvements. Are there any concerns? You can even do a Facebook live stream. You can do it right on Facebook, on our Facebook page.
There's some platforms that have live polls, so if you want to do that on the site, you get this, and then.
Yeah,
That's something
I
I'm
think
looking at, so.
we see what the team comes up with for the overlay, and if they come up with something we like, then we can just use that.
April 1st.
Okay, so that's for this. April 1st is Vail Canyon.
Yeah,
April the 9th is the.
there's one more thing about Bell Canyon. We've got contractors out. They're, after the open house, we'll be out physically knocking on doors, meeting with people, talking, discussing takes, easements, and right away. So
There's nothing we can do with the fact that they, from a delivery of document standpoint, we can change things, but from a, Q&A, we can change things. I don't know what legal requirements there are, but if they're, are they going to places that have requested them, or are they just going unsolicited?
well, that was the purpose of the open house. Everybody here from Bell Canyon, let them see the documents, see the project takes that we need, talk to our contractors, and then they go back out, make door-to-door visits, and talk to them about their documents, and signing, appraisals, and all that kind of thing.
Sure. So we can do, there's there's a solution for 99% of this electronically, where we can do electronic signatures, all kinds of stuff. They can mail certified and mail, and we can get through that part. Yep. Yeah, thank you for that, by the way. I appreciate that.
Well, I encourage you to see what others are doing, because we don't have to recreate the wheel. This is what happens in every single community around us. Some of them have already been set up, so that's something that we don't have to go through all this
Sure.
starting from scratch. That's why we're listening to other plans, because there's things in there that are specific to HR and personnel that we could look at it and pull the best pieces of each one.
If they have them and they're wanting to share or willing to share, then I'm fine with that.
Are we in agreement to have Amanda
Yeah,
get
sure.
some of this nuts and bolts stuff that is, it's not the big picture, but there's the stuff that's necessary?
And it might be that the prosecutor's office can't assist us because they don't do employment law, so if they don't, then we'll look at who the best option is.
Maybe look and see what others are doing and not
Oh, yeah,
not
yeah,
invent the
plenty
wheel
of-
like you're saying.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them right here.
I mean, the other thing too is when you're talking to them, you've already got their plans. I'm assuming you had an open conversation with them. I'm sure they can tell us who their counsel was that vetted their plans, right? So if they tell us what was vetted and by which counsel, then we can have our counsel call them and confirm, from an efficiency standpoint, so we're not wasting time and money that way. Just to ensure that we're good to go on that. But I think that's fine. If Amanda does that, I think she's, to your point, from a policy standpoint, probably the best suited to go in remote work. And I'm okay too with having Michelle look at what software packages, et cetera, exist. Because if they're doing it from a policy standpoint, that's one thing, but from an actual execution standpoint, we may have something that she finds that's better, if we like, et cetera. So I think it's good that we're all working on solutions. We stay solution focused, and then that's good energy momentum for us to tap into. So thank you, and thank you for that.
Do we need a resolution to cancel, to close everything down and not have rentals?
Well, you have a plan in front of you, so I don't know if you just want to adopt this plan in this version, and then we decide to maybe meet again this week, or, we can provide recommendations. Here's what we've come up with, here's what others are doing, here's what we think would be best, some more version 2 or 3. Like I said, adopted a plan, and they've already had changes to it, just because they needed to add some things. So, what they did is, once they had their plan, they either met with staff, they took the best pieces of it and pushed it out online and put a link to their plan on their website, so people knew exactly what the details were. So that's why I just haven't done anything yet. We talked about this building being locked and maintenance and facilities and being tours or going into station tours. Fire department, nothing's been adopted yet. So as soon as we get that, then that is some stuff we can push out tomorrow. Maybe put this plan online and then update it so it's a living document.
That's fine. We can do a motion to approve this.
It sounds like the plans for tomorrow with primary election have already changed since our meeting started.
Really?
Well,
Or do you
what
know that?
said- yeah, I don't know.
Have
so
you seen anything?
Yeah, Julie keeps it posted on, election hour.
Yeah, the judge rejected it or something.
Yeah.
So why don't we get through tomorrow and see as far as the next meeting for this week with us?
Yeah,
It seems
we-
like things are changing by the hour, and then we'll adopt the guidance plan now. See how tomorrow
As is.
goes.
I mean, there's nothing in here. We intentionally left it where there would be nothing in here that we didn't have flexibility with. And then the other thing I'll say is, with maintenance and parks, I do want to touch on that because it's important to the community. When we met, we had maintenance come over, and what Aaron James is our, one of our supervisors, and what he's already doing is he's rotating throughout the day to sanitize the structures in our parks. So they're spraying down. We had them go get like the pump sprayers, and they're using a safe solution that sanitizes, so that the families that are utilizing them and residents that are utilizing our parks have some assurance that we're at least putting forth good faith effort. We did elect not to close the bathrooms at the parks, so as to encourage hand washing and hygiene while people are there. I asked Bill last week to look into mobile hand washing stations for parks that don't have access to those, because that's the best source of hygiene that we know of. we can't send people to monitor our parks and prevent people from accessing them. So the agreement was that we would enable them to do so through good hygiene and as safe as possible. I think it's a small measure we can take during this time to support the township. And so, I know
And that
Bill's-
should be definitely posted.
Yeah, most places are keeping their parks open, a lot of places are closing down the restrooms and facilities, like disposable restrooms, so.
But the fact that we're leaving it open to keep the kids, that's a great Facebook
So
post.
that'll add part of it.
We want them to wash. We want them to wash their hands coming onto the park and when they leave the park, we encourage that. And so he should have a quote or a response back from the vendor. We just put one at North Road Park anyway, so we have an open relationship with them. And as soon as he hears back, he can update the board. But I think we include that in the motion that will, or in this plan. I'm verbalizing it now, so it's documented that we're considering that. And if we adopt this tonight, as is, with understanding we'll migrate as needed. But maintenance is, they're gonna continue to uptick in cleaning. I had them do an inventory tonight of what they got on hand. They're well stocked, they're well positioned to continue to do that. And they're gonna partner with the fire department as needed if there's to find resources for PPE if that comes into play. They do have enough of the N95 masks now so that they're safe when they're in that environment working. And I'm confident we'll have equipment and PPE if we need it.
Brian, when would you like to schedule a special meeting?
Well, that's what I said. Should we wait to get through tomorrow and then
See what that comes up with.
see what
the
comes out
governor.
and help tomorrow, then we set up our special meeting?
Okay. I'll just leave the week free.
What else you got, man? What else?
Yeah. So I make the motion to approve the 2020 Orange Township Coronavirus Guidance Plan.
Second.
I'm gonna go say with the version 3/15/2020, that's the most recent.
That's important. Yeah, that's important.
With version 3.3,
3/15.
with version 3.15.
March 15th.
I'm sorry, with
Yeah, March 15th.
March 15th, 2020.
Second.
Trustee Rivers?
Yes.
Trustee Grumble?
Yes.
Trustee Trento?
Yes.
Thank you all for that. And Captain Miller, thank you guys again for doing such a good job on this. Wonderful job.
Thank you. We are going to go to executive session with the changes since the meeting has started. I don't know if the Board of Elections will be coming in or where things stand. So as we come out of executive session, hopefully we can stream. If we do have run problems, we'll record and upload it to the YouTube channel in the morning. But right now with Board of Elections and all that's going on,
Should we have them, Captain Miller, and get the chairs out of the way and stuff just to help them?
Yeah.
Because I think the room was kind of supposed to be empty.
yeah. So I make the motion to enter into executive session to consider the appointment, employment, compensation of a public employee or official.
Second.
Trustee Rivers?
Yes.
Trustee Grumble?
Yes.
Trustee Trento?
Yes.
And I would like to invite to join us in executive session Amanda Sheetroom. Is there anyone else we need to invite?
I think the board should be back first.
What's that?
Or we're going to bring the board back first.